open session.
So moved.
No
Second.
Mr. Pappas? Yes. Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Showing.
Thank you. Welcome to the November 19th regular meeting of the Anderson Township Board of Township Trustees. We are going to do the most important thing we're going to do tonight. It's the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have the good fortune to be led by Girl Scout Troop 49360 Wilson Elementary. I think they're there somewhere. Oh, there they are. Hi, girls.
Start us off.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Thank you, girls.
Thank you.
Okay.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second. Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. We have, so long, girls. You don't have to leave. Although you might be the smartest ones in the group. Okay, we do have a public hearing, and I will open a public hearing for the removal of an unsafe structure on land owned by James O. Wynn, Clara J. Wynn, and Carol L. Ball, located at 6411 Sherman Avenue. Paul?
Well, as you know, the board took action to declare this property a nuisance due to an unsafe structure on the property. So tonight is just an opportunity for anyone to speak on that if you have ownership interest in that property.
Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in this matter? We didn't expect anyone, but we still have to offer the opportunity before we tear this thing down.
Okay.
No?
That's all we have.
Okay. If not, why, we'll close the public hearing and move on. Thank you, Paul. We have two important recognitions. One is a retirement, the other one is a promotion. Chief Over.
Thank you. If I could have Fred Buop come up here with me, please. As I made the board aware of, Fred Buop has retired from the fire department, as you can tell. He started with us in 1982 as a volunteer, and 1985 he left to join the Air Force, where he eventually became a firefighter and a medic there. Returned in 1993 to a career position with us. He later retained ranks of lieutenant and battalion chief. In his tenure here, he graduated from the Ohio Fire Chiefs Executive Program. He also oversaw our EMS division. He was an instructor. He facilitated streamlining our EMS supplies. He acquired numerous EMS grants. He fostered our instructors to the program we have today. We're state certified to do our own instructing. And one of his latest ventures that we're utilizing in the last 3 or 4 months is our community service program, where he helped us streamline with some of our personnel when we run into issues with either some people that really need some help and don't know how to get it in a direction that we have a community service program we put together that is working, unfortunately, for those people. They don't always want to help, but we're getting them in the right direction. The program's working out real well. So we appreciate his efforts in leading that. We want to thank him for his 33 years and wish him a good retirement. Go ahead.
I have a short 20-minute speech. Thank you all for coming. It's bittersweet, and out with the old and with the new. With firefighter Durr getting promoted, 33 years is a long time. I've always wanted to be a firefighter and a paramedic ever since I lived on Barabelle Place, went to Maddox, listened to the siren at the Salem Firehouse. It's always been a dream. Very fortunate to be able to do what I love to do for so many years. Just when you're out back cutting the lawn one day and you say, that's enough, that's enough. I've seen my share of tragedy, and I've also seen my share of happiness and people coming in to thank us after a life-saving event. Truly rewarding career. It's been an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to work under Chief Ober and to work with Chief Rick Martin, who graduated quite a long time before I did. And we went through high school together. My lieutenants, Lieutenant Broman, who I graduated a year before me, we went to Anderson, Lieutenant Weber, Lieutenant Carlson, and Lieutenant Jones. I have to mention a few names, and I'll be brief. My EMS division, Mike Willenbrink, Tom Merrill, who streamlined and saved our taxpayers countless amounts of dollars each year by being very vigilant and militant towards our personnel and the use of their supplies. Brian Reed, for our firehouse, he single-handedly got our firehouse reporting software up and running, and I watched him do that from the ground up, and it was probably more stressful than a serious auto accident, to be honest with you. Coming in age, Suzanne and Vicky. Vicky's known me since I was a little pup coming up through the fire service. Folks, that you live in this township, you are very fortunate to have a fire service and the professionals that you have, and I don't say that lightly. I've worked cross country, I worked in Arizona, I've worked in the military. This is second to none. And if you don't think that these firefighters and paramedics don't love this department and love this community, then you're living in the wrong place, because Anderson Township is the place to be. I told my wife, when we lived in Arizona, I said, there's only one reason we will come back to Cincinnati, and that is if I got a job in Anderson Township. And much to her surprise, with the pregnancy of our second daughter and our Halloween that actually snowed, she made it through. I want to thank my wife, who I love dearly and have been married to 26 years as of yesterday. Kathleen, would you please stand up and be recognized as being a luckiest woman in the world right there, folks. Also, we're taking donations. She's seeking intense therapy. She's not had me home every third day for 33 years, and she's not caring for that one bit. Finally, Mr. Jackson, years of service, always supported the fire department. Thank you so much for everything you've done. If the public only really knew what all you go through. It's a thankful job, but it's a thankless job. And thanks for leading this township and being one of the best places ever to work. I'm done talking. I know you guys are relieved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, if you could come on up, please. While Fred makes his rounds through the room. Okay, we'll wait. All right.
Best of luck, Fred. Thanks.
Jeff, he thinks they're all here for him. Okay. We'll let him go with that. Okay. With the recent retirement of a lieutenant, we have an opening in the lieutenant's ranks. Recently, 16 of our firefighters finished the process, and with that said, Jeff Durr finished first in that process, and as the board's been made aware, we are recommending and have prepared the motion for Jeff to be promoted to lieutenant effective this evening.
All you.
Oh, you, Russ.
I'd make a motion to promote Jeff Durr to the rank of lieutenant within the Anderson Township Fire and Rescue Department effective November 20th, 2015.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Now it's official.
Now it's official. Jeff's been with the department since 2001. He is one of our AMS instructors. We look forward to a lot of great years of his leadership, and I'd like to congratulate you and have your father come up and pin your badge on.
Come on, Dave.
Do you need my glasses? Okay.
Good job, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck, Jeff.
Mr. Jackson? Mr. Jackson?
Russ.
Yes.
I'm sorry. My apologies. I forgot one of the most important people that I have besides my wife.
Yeah.
I can't leave here. Yeah. Lieutenant Bob Hurlinger, raise your hand.
There's Bob.
Well, my EMS manager, he's been with me for so many years, he's done countless tireless things for me, and I'm sorry, Bob, I completely forgot. Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much.
I'm waiting for them to all to jump for the door here.
Yeah, they usually.
Thanks, guys.
There they go.
Yep.
Congratulations. It's getting down to normal.
Yep.
A little bit.
I think so. At every meeting, we set aside time for citizens who wish to address the board. If you wish to address the board, we ask that you make non-repetitive points as clearly and concisely as possible, limiting your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes, and we do ask that you state your name and address for the record. If anyone wishes to address this board, please come forward now.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Dean Molas, and my address is 2336 Heather Hill Boulevard North. I'm here at the request of friends and neighbors throughout the community to voice support for the construction of a new building for Anderson High School at the present site of Beach Acres. I have lived in Anderson Township for 18 years. Things have gone exceptionally well here. However, I think there is an opportunity for us to improve even more on what we are doing. I might disappoint the hopes of some in this room, but I have no intention of demanding that a new high school be built, as if just by making that statement it's possible. It certainly is not. Further, I think it's important to acknowledge that the Township Trustees, the School Board, and the Park Board have all gone to some effort to see if this project can proceed. I would also like to make note of the fact that over the last 4 or 5 years, this community has passed not one but 2 levies in support of our schools. This was no small feat, given some of the hardened opposition to the levies, as well as the difficult economic times we've experienced over the last 8 years. For if the worst case is that we utilize $25 million of our recent bond levy to renovate the existing Anderson High School to a modern facility, we have done exceptionally well for our community and our children. This is nothing less than an astounding success, and we should consider it as such rather than feel any sense of loss if we aren't able to convert that momentum into a new building. I have read and analyzed no less than 10 letters and documents that began to circulate from June 25th forward regarding the Anderson 2020 plan. These documents were originated or addressed to the various organizations that will either be responsible for or affected by the execution of this project. On October 21st, the Anderson Township Management Team released a 6-page document outlining their concerns for the project. It raises a number of questions that must be answered. They provide their own analysis of what they believe the redevelopment of the existing Anderson High School property might be worth. The Township Administration is concerned by a funding gap. And though the numbers are substantially different from the builder's proposals, there must be some truth in the middle. The school district, the Parks District, Township Administration all wrote to Vanderkar and SFA Architects on November 9th, requesting information with a deadline of noon, November 20th, and that's tomorrow. Clearly an effort to move the project along. A number of people have spent a substantial amount of time thinking about this project, its feasibility, and its impact on our community. It would be hard not to understand the impact of this project, regardless of your position in favor or against it. The decisions that will be made regarding the Beach Acres site are, for all intents, irrevocable. If the Beach Acres land is developed commercially, it is not likely that it will be redeveloped as a school in our lifetimes. And it is hard to imagine what other land might be available or become available at any time in the future within our township. And who would argue with the idea of how wonderful it would be if we could build a new building for Anderson High School? What an incredible legacy it would be for the next 50 years or perhaps the next century. And what a benefit to our children currently at Anderson if their high school experience would not be interrupted by the ongoing building renovations that they will endure over the next several years. For though they might never experience the new building, they would benefit from the fact that it was being built elsewhere. We all know that the strength of our schools drives the strength of the community. For so go the schools, so goes the community, and the property values along with it. We must consider every aspect of this project, but the most critical element now is the matter of time. We don't have a lot of time before irrevocable decisions must be made. Thus, if there is any way that this project can move forward, provided it doesn't cause financial harm to our community, we should do all that we can to see that it does. There are a number of people here to show that there is community support for this project, and that we want you to do all that you can do to see if it is possible. If it is not, we want you to come to that conclusion based on a reasonable analysis of the facts, not merely due to the expiration of deadlines. There are always risks in everything we do to achieve great goals. Please do all that you can to determine if we can create this legacy for our community. It will be something we could all look back on with great pride. And so I thank you for the opportunity to address you today and the group, and I'd at least like the people who are here in support of this idea to stand. Thank you. Those are all my comments.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Errol Edrington. I live 566 4 Mile Road.
I'm Jordan Van Kuren, and I live at 7809 Cloveridge Court.
We wanted to thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak at tonight's meeting. The students and faculty at Anderson High School have been making the absolute best out of a functionally obsolete facility for way too long now. The mere fact that students are cold in the winter and nearly overheating in the summer and spring is archaic at this point. Each day, everyone in the building sits underneath a collapsing ceiling tiles while mice and cockroaches scamper across the floors. It's a complete and total travesty for all of those who inhabit our building daily. For a community that has always prided ourselves on being top-notch, we still continue to allow students and teachers to work in deplorable conditions every day. Everyone in the township should get the best that we offer. The time is up now to stop talking about how much we can do with less. We need what is not considered luxury anymore, but what is now necessary to help continue to achieve academic greatness in Anderson Township.
Anderson High School is a fantastic school. It educates the generation of leaders for America at the highest quality. However, its facilities are nowhere near fantastic. The community and staff of Anderson is what makes it such a great place to be. Everyone is supportive. The teachers all clearly have a passion to not only teach, but to help students grow as individuals. There is just one problem. It is very difficult for teachers to achieve this goal when there are cockroaches crawling across the floor, sewage leaking in the hallways, and students pouring sweat due to the lack of air conditioning. All these factors disrupt students' ability to learn and teachers' ability to teach. Imagine the disruption that would onset with a cockroach running across the floor of a classroom. Girls screaming, guys laughing, teachers trying to get the class's attention. This is not a good learning environment. Even if you may not be directly affected by Anderson's facilities, or you may not think they are bad enough to need a full school replacement, it needs to be done for the staff and the students. They deserve the standards and accommodations that Turpin has and the majority of high schools in the country have. Anderson is already a high-achieving school. Imagine where we could be with a new school where students aren't distracted by rodents, sewage, or extreme temperatures in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Good evening. My name is Brian Baldessare. I live at 7758 12 Oaks Court, resident of Anderson Township since 1997. Have a daughter who is a junior at Anderson High School presently. Have another daughter that graduated from Anderson High School this past May. Certainly not deaf or immune to some of the comments that have been said about the condition of the school this evening. My concern is some of the communications that are going around the township right now around this are tying two issues together. The building of a new high school, which I think is one issue, but what happens with the existing property that the existing high school sits on today, and specifically tearing down the high school and building in part a hotel. And that is what I personally am opposed to, is having a hotel built within essentially the neighborhood that I live in. I just don't think that's a good thing for either the neighborhood that I live in or, quite frankly, for Anderson Township. I think right now, you look at Beachmont Avenue, one questions the aesthetics of it to begin with. To put a hotel that is presumably going to be multi-story just back from Beachmont Avenue creates another potential eyesore. So I guess I would maintain there's two issues here. One is, do we construct a new high school? The other is, what do you do with the existing property? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't be shy, folks. We're in no hurry if you're not in a hurry. If anyone else wishes to speak, please come forward. With that,
Greg doesn't speak.
nobody? Okay. I will close the public forum portion of our meeting. Thank you for coming before us. Trustee comments. I, for one, I'm going to forego any trustee comments because the board has prepared a statement with regard to this whole development for the purpose of hopefully at least updating everybody as to where we are. And Mrs. Earhart is going to read it. It's only about 40, 50 minutes long, so we'll get through it.
But I think I'll still be more brief than Battalion Chief Buon. So, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you for sharing your thoughts, ideas, and concerns with regard to the proposed redevelopment of the current Anderson High School site on Forest Road and the Beach Acres Parenting Center property on Beachmont Avenue. Other than the acquisition of the Beach Acres site, action of the Board of Trustees with respect to this project is limited to the Forest Road redevelopment and related TIF, and facilitation of certain aspects of the Park District's plan for the Recplex. The board is not authorized to fund educational facilities such as a high school. Rob Smijunas with Vanderkar initially approached the township with a conceptual plan for a new high school in early February. He proposed that the construction of the new school would be funded with a portion of the Forest Hills Local School District levy proceeds, together with TIF revenues generated by the redevelopment of the Forest Road site, with no additional tax dollars required. In March, the developer shared his vision for the 48-acre publicly owned Forest Road site, which calls for transfer of the property to the developer for $1. The plan that was presented at that time is displayed on the screen before you. This same image was brought forward during an October 15th meeting between the developer and representatives from the township, school, and park districts. A traffic report which accompanied that plan denoted a mix of potential uses, including 120,000 square feet of office, 550 apartment units, 200 senior living units, and a 120-room hotel. As you will note, other than the addition of potential future connections through privately owned properties, the drawing for the Forest Road site has remained unchanged since March. The only things that have changed over the last 9 months are the developer's estimates of the value of the property after its redevelopment, which have evolved from $80 million to the $180 million referenced by Mr. Smijunas at the trustees meeting in August, and the square footage and number of units depicted on this image. On October 27th, 12 days after our meeting with the developer, we learned that the proposed office space had more than tripled in size to 432,000 square feet. Multifamily units increased from 550 to 605, and senior living units almost doubled from 200 to 350 units. It's not clear if there were any changes to the 120-room Key Hotel. The developer's estimates with regard to property value of the Forest Road site after redevelopment are critically important because the developer proposes that 100% of the TIF revenues generated from the value of the private improvements to be made to the property, together with a portion of the Forest Hills Local School District levy proceeds, would fund construction of a new high school and provide $2 million toward the renovation of the existing recplex. Assuming an appropriate legal structure for the flow of TIF revenue can be developed, if the Forest Road development is not completed in a timely manner, does not result in sufficient property value, or the value declines or is reduced through a Board of Revision process before debt issued in connection with the project is retired, it is likely that there would not be sufficient TIF revenue to make the plan feasible without additional resources. The developer has stated a number of times that there is, quote, no gap in funding, unquote, and no additional taxpayer dollars would be required for the project. Yet the developer has not included a means of funding the necessary public infrastructure improvements at the Forest Road site in the models presented, other than to request additional resources, taxpayer dollars, beyond the 100% of the TIF revenues from the Forest Road site. One of the developer's suggestions is to create a joint economic development district involving one or both of the sites. The proposal's not clear. And to impose an income tax on compensation of wage earners at those sites. To date, the township has not created any JEDs in this township. The traffic report commissioned by the developer estimated that roadway improvements would cost at least $3.5 million. That estimate was based on less intense development than the one that was presented by the developer on October 27th. In addition, the traffic report did not address all of the roadways that would be impacted by such a development. Township staff has conservatively estimated the cost to be closer to $10 million. Lastly, without an actual plan, the township has nothing to present to property owners who will be directly impacted by redevelopment of the Forest Road site and whose property could be affected by any required roadway improvements such as road widening. All three public entities have asked that such a plan be submitted by December 1st, not only to begin the zoning process, but also to facilitate a public open house whereby citizens will have an opportunity to provide comments and feedback. While all three public entities continue to expend taxpayer dollars in an effort to further due diligence, the developer's team has indicated that it does not wish to spend additional time and money on developing a redevelopment plan unless the township finds the proposed legal structure to be lawful. All parties are aware that the plan requiring that 100% of the TIF revenue generated from the Forest Road site be paid to the school district violates certain limitations in the township's TIF statute, and that additional work is required to structure the flow of TIF revenues. Counsel to the board is in communication with bond counsel to the school district, and they will continue to explore options presented to them. However, the developer has not yet proposed a specific legal structure that meets its objective and that complies with township TIF law limitations. The township may only pay to the school district TIF revenues in an amount that does not exceed the amount of real property taxes that the school district would otherwise receive were the improvements to the property not exempt from real property taxes. The remaining TIF revenues must be expended in a manner permitted under the TIF statute. A legal structure to meet the objective of compensating the school district in a greater amount through the TIF revenue cash flow has not been proposed by the school district or the developer. In the meantime, the Board of Township Trustees has authorized the purchase of the Beach Acres Parenting Center site at a cost of $6.9 million, which will provide additional time to vet the proposal and accommodate the needs of the school district and the park district. The board has also approved the expenditure of township dollars for legal review of the transaction and contracts in the event that the project moves forward. These expenditures are in addition to the hundreds of hours of staff time which have been invested in review, research, and meetings with the developer in an effort to determine if his plan is feasible. All three public entities have given the developer deadlines for submission of plans and answers to questions related to this proposal. to his proposal. Adherence to those deadlines is critical to a timely review of the feasibility of his plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you. Unless anyone has anything else to say, we'll move on to Fiscal Officer, Mr. Ken Dietz.
Thank you. Financial reports at the end of October. Revenues trying to catch up with the end of the year. They're still above what we had estimated. Expenditures are less than what we had estimated, so we like to see that picture every year that we get to the end of the fiscal year. We do have some appropriation changes because we're getting towards the end of 2015. We've had unanticipated repairs in both Public Works and Fire and Rescue. In Public Works, we would like to move some money from contracts, $10,000 from contracts to repairs. In Fire and Rescue, we'd like to move $4,000 from other expenses, and that's auditors and treasurers' fees and workers' compensation, to repairs to the tune of $15,000. And then just a bookkeeping matter, as you know, we did some refinancing of our bonds and refunding of the bonds early this year, and the monies do not change, but we need to move some interest, some principal money to interest money to cover our next bond payment, which is due in December the 1st. Like I said, none of these have changed the total budget, but we're just moving money around for, in the last case, the general note retirement for bookkeeping purposes. So I'd need the board's approval to make those changes.
I move to adopt the appropriation changes presented by fiscal officer.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
And then we have some minutes to approve, 5 sets of minutes.
We want the 4 together, except for Josh's. I move to adopt the minutes for October 1st, 2015, October 15th, 2015, November 5th, 2015, and November 12th, 2015.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
I move to further adopt the minutes for the meeting from October 22nd, 2015.
Second?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Abstain.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Ken,
Thank you.
and congratulations.
Thank you.
Law Director, Margaret Comey.
You threw me.
Thank you. Planning and zoning, Paul, do you have anything else? Thank you. Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Matt Guy. Richard, ball's in your court, buddy.
At this point, I'm following Girl Scouts, a fireman, and a new school, so I'll do the best I can. What you have before you tonight is the approval of the landscape contract for Merkel for the next 2 seasons. As the board will remember, we went to a 2-year program on this because it was very hard for the contractors to go through a learning curve. We serve almost 75 sites, 40-something in roadways, and then our buildings. When you count beds and you break them down, it's over 300 locations. So there's kind of a learning curve on exactly where these are, what type of work goes on in them. And so we've went to a 2-year program. The Merkel Lawn Care Company has served us well in the last couple seasons, and what you have before you is a motion to renew that contract.
I move that this board hereby approve renewal of contract for Merkel Lawn Care Company for the 2016 and 2017 landscape maintenance project, together with a 10% contingency for a maximum appropriation of $254,192 in the general fund per year. Further, this board hereby authorizes and directs the Township Administrator, after consultation with the Law Director, to enter into a contract with Merkel Lawn Care Company for the 2016-2017 landscape maintenance contract.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Thank you.
I would point out one last thing. 10 years ago, when we started this process, the first contract was almost $200,000. So in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
with everything we've brought online, this building, 5 Mile Beachmont Islands, the other stuff that we have done throughout the community, adding of the green spaces, the pricing has actually decreased
yeah.
through the competitive bidding process. And bidding this, the 5 Mile Trail, bidding this together has pushed that pricing down. We're talking about only a 20 or 30% increase in a 10-year period.
But the volume's
But the volume
increased.
that has increased has doubled.
Yeah.
So I just point that out as a caveat to this.
Do we get good feedback from the work of the Merkel folks?
You know, landscaping is one of those things that a lot of times people will comment on the beauty, but they most certainly comment when it doesn't look right.
Yeah,
And so, you know, the fact that we don't get comments on that is a good thing because of the nature of the work.
And years ago, we learned a lesson when Turpin and Anderson were against each other in a football game, and our landscaper installed gold and rust-color mums on 5 Mile Road. We have learned not to do that again. We stick with neutral colors of yellow and
Yeah,
whatever other color we can come up with.
We don't take a side in that particular issue. Very good point. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
That's great.
Chief Ober, anything else? We catch you eating?
I'm sorry?
Were you eating? Or was that one of those sours? I got you.
Deb's
Okay.
fault.
That's all right, then.
Deb brought the thought.
And now, Township Administrator, once again, Mrs. Vicki Earhart, and her co-conspirators, I guess.
I do my best to
There she is,
instill
Suzanne
professional
Parker.
development in the management team, but they also pick up my bad habit of eating candy. So Ms. Parker has the one and only item that we have for you this evening.
I think you all have a memo that outlines the renewal of our dental insurance. I would like to make one correction. After a conversation with our representative at Dental Care Plus yesterday, they've dropped the quote from 6% increase to 5%, and yes, it was just 1%, but every little bit counts. So I'm very pleased they were open to that, and unless the board has any questions, I would ask that the board approve for me to go ahead and contract with Dental Care Plus again this year. This would take effect on January 1st.
I move to authorize the Assistant Township Administrator for Human Resources to renew the township's dental insurance with Dental Care Plus effective January 1st, 2016.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have nothing further this evening.
Well,
Thanks, everyone.
very good. Thank you. The next regular meeting of this board will be December 17th at 6 p.m. If you have any questions, you can call 688-8400. With that, thank you all for coming, and we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes. Thank you.